right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the show. I am Chris with Mob Crew. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Today, I guess it kind of depends on who you ask, but it's kind of the 1 year anniversary. I know kind of some claim yesterday, but either way, it's been 1 year since Sebastian Rogers went missing. And still no answers, no arrest, no Sebastian, and it's so frustrating. There is an interview. So we had an interview yesterday with Katie, which I uploaded to my channel. I'm sure a lot of you had seen it. If you haven't, we will watch that later. But there's an interview that's supposed to play here. I don't know if it'll be right on the hour or if it'll be kind of, 20 minutes into the news show, but we are going to tune into that. So that'll be kind of the first thing we watched. And then since obviously for the 1 year anniversary, I've been working since last night all through this morning, preparing a show for you guys. Just going through everything, full breakdown. So this will be probably about a 2 hour live. Usually I try to keep it short and sweet, but like I said, I put a lot of work into this. There's some things that I discovered today that are very disturbing about SF. Again, as you guys know, I like to stay in my lane. I always say that, but there's some things that as I was putting my show together, I had found a couple of things that he was talking about, and I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly what he's referring to, and it just upsets me, and we will talk about that, but that'll be kind of a little bit later in the show, because we're just going to go chronologically, or at least as much as I can, when we get to that point. But I see all the love and support in the chat. If you can, I know it's redundant. If you could, hit that like button. It'll help. I know there's probably a lot of YouTubers that are going live right now. So I do appreciate the support. You guys are here. That means the world to me, because I know there's a lot of great channels that covered this case. So that just means so much more that you guys are here in the chat with me. So God bless. And then, of course, thank you to my lovely mods coming in here, because, especially when we covered this Sebastian Rogers case, obviously there's so many people invested and, are praying that, we find him. So there's supposed to be a interview that's here that is supposed to be in the channel starts, the news is going to be at 5, so in 9 minutes. So before we get to that, because obviously we got 9 minutes to spare at the very least, I'm assuming we'll probably have to kind of, wait. I don't know. Maybe they'll have it right on the hour. We'll have to see. So why we killed just a couple minutes, I had a request. This is, all of them are very important, but I always like to attach missing person cases, other ones, to bigger cases like Sebastian's. And this one's very important because this is one of my viewers actually knows this family in some regards. And so this is very recent. This is Jaden Kennedy. She's 5'9", 190 pounds approximately. She was last seen February 19th, so that's a week ago. She was leaving a sleep-in hotel in Carlsbad, New Mexico. So I actually have a buddy, Tom N. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. Amazing supporter. He posted this on my Facebook. We're going to look at this video posted by her sister, but they believe, hopefully, she's safe, but they are concerned because she went missing, and then apparently I believe the boyfriend, just as she went missing, left town, from what I understand. So let me play this video, and then we'll go right into the news. So again, this is regarding Jaden. I believe this is her sister here. And so let's see what she has to say. I feel so bad for her.
I am currently headed to Carlsbad, New Mexico to look for Jaden Kennedy, my missing sister. I just want to ask anybody that has any information. Was around her apartment complex on Thursday morning around 8 a.m. if they were coming, going, leaving from the Village complex in Carlsbad, New Mexico. If you by chance saw her, she left the sleep in next to it, and the last video footage we have is of her walking in front of the urgent care that is between the apartment complex and the hotel. The video footage shows her going around the corner, and that's where we lose her. Anything. You could think it meant nothing to you, but it could mean something for this case. Just anything, please. I'll show the footage right here that we do have, and I'll also show the last picture of what she was seen wearing. We have received tips, and every tip we receive, we do submit. If anything, call the Carlsbad Police Department. Give them any tips you have. Comment, message me. I'll submit it myself. Please help. She's missing. She could be with somebody. If she's with you, please let us know. There's just, we don't know where she's at, and anything helps.
Okay, so this is, and I know it's probably hard to see. If I get a chance, maybe at the end, I'll zoom this in. I want to check this footage out, because you guys know I love, reviewing surveillance footage. I know it's really small right now, so I apologize. But this is her sister, I guess, walking out of the hotel. This is kind of like the last known video of her sister. And so that actually says December 20th on it. February 20th. I apologize. And she walks kind of like not across the street, but there's like an urgent care. And so that's it. Well, if we have more time, we will look at it. But Tom N, for those that know, he's a huge supporter of this channel. He's working out there, and actually knows the family. So prayers to the family, and hopefully, they get answers. But from what I understand, just one more time, and then we'll get into the news with Sebastian. But that is Jaden Kennedy. There it says February 19th, but that clip says the 20th. I don't know. Maybe they just got that date wrong. But either way, it's not a big deal. But yeah, from what I heard, just that's not in these notes here, is that apparently her boyfriend, again, doesn't mean he is a suspect, but could be possibly a person of interest, because apparently he left, which is kind of odd. I think there was like a breakup or something like that. And anyway, that's the details I know. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And again, if anybody's out that way, New Mexico, Carlsbad, I think the boyfriend went to Houston, Texas. And that's about as much as I know at this moment. All right. So if you're just tuning in, we've got 3 minutes until we have this. So as far as I know, from what it said, where is, yeah, so here it says full interview Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. So obviously right now it's 5:57. Anybody that's familiar with this site, do you know? I'm assuming it's got to be one of these two. There's WS Live Newscast or Live Events. I'm going with the first one, but if anybody knows in chat, like has watched this on, online, there's 4 different channels. I'm assuming it's going to be the first one, but obviously I can switch between the two, but okay, yeah. So it's got to be one of these two. I'm assuming it's this one because it says news 6 p.m. and that one doesn't. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're on the right one. It is also on their app. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this has got to be it right now. And I'm sure they'll probably even put it on their like website. I think because I think they're the same ones that did like the first interview. Correct me if I'm wrong. The very first interview that where she kind of like giggled almost when they asked her, like what are the emotions you're going through, and she almost kind of like, you know, kind of broke into a laugh, which is odd. So we got 1 minute. Let's see. I'm gonna hit my record. The second it goes on, I'll put it in full screen for you guys because I'm gonna record it as well. Remember, this is so we had Katie Proudfoot last night. I have that one. I uploaded that, and we'll watch that later today. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh it here. Okay, we still got 1 minute. Yeah, I think, and like I said, I'll go full screen. What I'll do is I'll put it full screen for you guys as well, so you won't have all this up here, so we can listen to it, and then I'll record it, and then if it's a big interview, we can always go back to certain points to it. But I do have quite a bit. Here we go.
WSMV4 News at 6 starts now with this breaking news alert.
That breaking news at this hour, police are in a Brentwood neighborhood after a man shot his neighbor to try to stop him from stabbing a woman. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Marius Payton.
And I'm Lauren Lowry. Our Tracy Cornett is live tonight from Lost Hollow Drive. Tracy, what can you tell us?
It is a beautiful night out here in Brentwood. You would never know when you look behind me that what transpired 5 hours ago really rocked this neighborhood, at least for the neighbors who witnessed it. In this house behind me, there's no crime tape. There's no police presence at this hour anymore. Investigators have cleared the scene. But what we know is that an altercation inside, a stabbing of a woman by a male suspect happened inside that house, spilled out the front door onto the lawn, and then down to the street. Now, we do not know the relationship between the male suspect and the woman, but that will be revealed here in the hours to come. You can see the ground here. We were told that there were some puddles here that have since been cleaned of blood from this stabbing, but you would not be able to tell at this hour. We know that at that point, when things came outside, it was loud, it was scary, gunshots were heard. A neighbor called 911 around 1:17. Brentwood police rolled out here, and there was a neighbor outside trying to stop this stabbing. That particular neighbor could not stop the stabbing. That neighbor had a gun. That neighbor shot the male suspect to stop the stabbing. Right now, we know that that male suspect is at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, has life-threatening injuries at this hour. The woman is expected to be okay. So that is what we know at this hour. Any other breaking details we will bring you. Brentwood Police, of course, will be updating this as well. So keep it right here, and by 10 o'clock, we should have more information, including possibly the relationship and a motive, if any, here behind this domestic situation. I do want to tell you, I did a Facebook Live. It's on my page if you want to watch. I talked to a couple of kids who were out here who saw all the police officers who heard things out at their school at Crockett Elementary nearby. And we spoke with multiple other neighbors. We'll bring you that part of the story tonight at 10 o'clock. For now, I'm live in Brentwood. Tracy Cornett, WSMV4. Guys, back to you.
Tracy, thank you. And it is the mystery that's baffled people all over the mid-state and across the country.
Yeah, 1 year ago today, Sebastian Rogers vanished from his Hendersonville home without a trace. Hundreds of tips have poured in, but still no Sebastian.
Sebastian's mother and stepdad sat down with our Holly Thompson, who joins us now with how they're handling everything 1 year later. Tonight, in my one-on-one with Katie and Chris Proudfoot, you'll hear about the unwavering hope this family is clinging to and their message to you as they vow they will never give up in the search for their son.
It's a living nightmare, to be honest with you.
The teen with autism disappeared from his mom and stepdad's Hendersonville home in the overnight hours of February 26th.
What would you say to him when he walked in that door? Oh, God, I don't even know if I'd be able to speak. I'd probably bulldoze him down with hugs. Honestly, when I picture that, I just picture being able to hug him, to hold him, to smell him. I mean, I just just to be able to hear his voice, to hear his laugh.
The teen with autism disappeared from his mom and stepdad's Hendersonville home in the overnight hours of February 26th.
We do believe there's a chance it is Sebastian. We're just trying to find out if that could be the case.
Steve Fisher, a private investigator hired by Katie and Chris Proudfoot, says this video that first aired on WSMV4 could be a new lead in the ongoing search for Sebastian. Video from the night Sebastian disappeared.
We went through over 100 hours of surveillance, and it wasn't until the third pass through the surveillance that we even spotted this person. And there's a person at 12:17 a.m. in the same neighborhood that Sebastian's from, that walks southbound in the neighborhood, goes behind a vehicle. It appears that they're trying to stay out of sight of another person that's walking their dog, and then doubles back after it's clear.
Fisher says he's working to learn if that person wearing dark clothing in the video is accounted for in the investigation.
It actually gives us more rejuvenated hope that we may actually be onto something. We just have to run it down.
Over the last 12 months, emergency responders and volunteers spent hundreds of hours searching for the missing teen. Drone mapping, ground searches, scent dogs, and the scouring of surveillance video.
Why do you think Sebastian is still missing?
That's tough to say. I mean, it was the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. And absolutely zero evidence. There's nothing out there. Law enforcement's working diligently. They are working hard over and over and over.
What do you want to say to anyone out there who wants to say that one of you could have something to do with Sebastian's disappearance? I would say to pause and to think, and I would say to consider the sources of information. Try to make sure that you're getting legitimate information. Avoid the rumors.
Katie and Chris say they're determined to bring their son home and want the community to stay focused.
I want to ask everyone not to forget, and I want to encourage people to keep helping and to keep bringing awareness not only to our son but to all of the missing children, because they all deserve to go home.
And if Sebastian's out there listening, I asked Katie what she'd want to say to him.
I would say that know that we all love you, and that there are so many people that care and so many people that are looking, and hang in there and know that we're going to find you, know that we're going to bring you home.
Investigating agencies say Sebastian's mom, stepdad, and biological father have fully cooperated, and there's no evidence to support foul play. Now, we also contacted law enforcement about the video in our story. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office told us that law enforcement had possession of the original video that the private investigator says is new since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. And after thoroughly investigating this lead, they determined it has no relevance to the case. Now, you can watch my full interview with Katie and Chris Proudfoot on our WSMV4 app. Holly Thompson, WSMV4.
The Amber Alert for Sebastian Rogers is still active, and the Sumner County Sheriff's Office says they're still looking for him. The sheriff posted on Facebook that his team is still following every lead and analyzing all evidence. The sheriff's office says there have been no confirmed sightings of Sebastian, but they haven't stopped trying to find him. They ask anyone with information to call TBI tip line.
Steve Wiggins won't get a new trial. He's serving a life sentence for murdering a Dixon County sergeant. Daniel Baker died in 2018 when Wiggins shot him and set his car on fire.
Okay, so no surprise there. Nothing major new there. And of course, no surprise that they're pushing that renewed, light into the investigation with that footage, and of course it's been shot down. Now, like I said earlier, and I think I put in chat, because for the 1 year anniversary I wanted to do something big, and like I said, I prepared a big show for you guys. We will check out the full unedited version as well, but I just want to say that footage, that SF, has been sitting on, in my opinion, and I will show you guys and I'll see what you guys think. I think he's been sitting on that for months, or at least a month, which disgusts me. But we'll get to that point. Do you guys want to see the full unedited version, and then we'll get into what I've got? Would it be on the site itself? Let's see here. News. Oh, there it is. Okay. I think this is it. No. No music. I think this has got to be it. Updated 16 minutes ago. Is this still an ad? This doesn't look like it. Oh, or is this it? What the hell? Is this it? Okay. Skip ad. Yep, okay, this is it. Yep, here we go. 23 minutes. Okay. I'm gonna go full screen so I can record it. Yep, we're gonna watch it. We'll put it in full screen. Make sure the volume's all the way up. Oh, I don't know why it's being weird. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna put this full screen. We'll listen to this. And then, like I said, I'll put it full screen so I'm not in the way. We'll play it all the way through. I'm going to also record it. That way we can always go back to it and not have to have this website up. So here we go. Let's see what they have to say. Go full screen, guys. We'll be back in 20 minutes.
The time to come talk with me. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So here we are. So it's an entire year after Sebastian's appearance. There's no really strong lead. There's no sighting yet. So tell me what you're feeling now. Here we are 1 year later.
I struggle to put words to how it feels, honestly. The amount of ups and downs, the amount of like possible leads that haven't panned out. We every day, you know, it's like waking up to this reality that it's actually real. And I mean, Sebastian should be home with us. I mean, he should be in school, he should be playing, he should be learning, he should be experiencing life. And until we can find him and until we can bring him home, we're going to keep doing everything we can to make sure that people don't forget about him. We're going to keep making sure that we spread awareness for him, and we're going to keep searching, and we're definitely going to keep praying.
You've told me you do want to stay positive. I know you both want to stay positive. That's all part of it. So in your mind, do you see Sebastian coming back through your front door? Do you feel he's okay, he's alive, he's out there?
I dream about it every day. I dream that one day I'm gonna wake up and this is gonna be a nightmare, but yes, I believe that my son is out there somewhere. I believe that we are going to find him. We are going to bring him home. and we're gonna find a way to recover from this, and I'm gonna watch him grow into a young man and, you know, live the life that he deserves to have.
What would you say to him when he walked in that door?
Oh God, I don't even know if I'd be able to speak. I'd probably bulldoze him down with hugs. Honestly, when I picture that, I just picture being able to hug him, to hold him, to smell him. I mean, just to be able to hear his voice, to hear his laugh, to see him just be with us and be okay is like I can't wait to see my son. I want to find him so bad.
You think he's coming home, right? How would you describe what you all have experienced this last year with so many unanswered questions still?
It's horrific, to be honest with you. I don't know how to describe what it feels like to watch the news, to go hang flyers in every store, every business, every place that you go to, and still find that some people don't even know about it. To hear that there might be a lead, and then just to sit there and have to wait and find out that it's not him yet. And
it's pure hell. I mean, there's nothing you can, there's no words, there's no way to put how this actually feels. And anybody that can, I don't see how. I mean, it's day-to-day life changes and you're stuck. It's almost like it feels like it's a Groundhog Day thing, where it's the same thing over and over. You wait and you hope a phone call may come in, you may get something, may get a lead. Turns out to be nothing. That's how it feels.
What is that message? I know we were talking earlier last week. Tell me what that message is that you want to make sure our viewers hear from you tonight.
I want to thank everyone who is searching. I want to thank everyone who is spreading flyers, spreading awareness. I want to ask everyone not to forget, and I want to encourage people to keep helping and to keep bringing awareness, not only to our son, but to all of the missing children, because they all deserve to go home. And I would also like to say that if my son could hear it, that we love him so much, and that we are going to keep searching, we are going to keep looking, we are going to find him, and we are going to bring him home.
Describe your hope right now.
I'm trying to be positive as I can, because I know that my son is out there. I struggle to find words to even describe how it feels anymore, because it's a living nightmare, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about the fact that Sebastian is out there and that we are looking for him, and we're going to keep looking for him, and We are going to keep praying to God that he is okay. And we're going to bring him home.
This story, we know it's baffled our Hendersonville community. We know it's baffled the mid-state community. It's baffled much of the country as they hear about it. Is there anything that stands out to you that's the most baffling? Like you're just trying to understand?
How we've gone this long and still haven't found him, honestly, is... I don't understand how we haven't found him yet.
Why do you think Sebastian is still missing?
That's tough to say. I mean, it was the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. And absolutely zero evidence. There's nothing out there. Law enforcement's working due diligently. They are working hard over and over and over. You know, we appreciate everything they do. I mean, it is an active investigation, so I don't want to go into it. But it is mind-blowing at the same time that it's been a year, and the amount of people that still don't know about this, it's unnerving, basically.
And I know you both want to try to get the word out as much as possible, and that's what this story, obviously that's what we're trying to do as well. There are many people who still do not know that you all have hired a private investigator. What can you tell me about the video that he recently has discovered and wants to share? I know this has been shared with authorities now.
Yes.
It has.
This is involving the neighborhood that you live in. Mm-hmm. What can you tell me about that video?
It's eye-opening to see that this is something that recently has surfaced, and it's been this long. It's just taken that long to find something. And what the video shows is kind of mind-boggling. We went from potentially not having a sighting to potentially having a sighting. And it kind of changes, like, wait a minute, now we may have something to actually work off of and move forward with and see where this goes. Exercise every avenue till its fullest.
No
It
stone
doesn't matter.
unturned.
No stone unturned. And Katie, you told me earlier you were determined to get to the bottom of this, to get to the bottom of that video.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that could possibly be something that could lead us to him. We're gonna keep looking. We're gonna keep digging and keep finding and confirm if it is or isn't, because, I mean, if it's possible, then it's got to be confirmed.
How hopeful are you that this video truly has something that could lead to finding Sebastian?
I pray that if there is anything even remotely in it that could help us find Sebastian, I pray that it is I don't know how to word it, but it's followed up and found out and confirmed one way or the other, because, you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the video. I know it's in it. It actually gives us more rejuvenated hope that we may actually be onto something. We just have to run it down. We've got to figure this out. And with law enforcement doing what they can, and with the help of like TBI, the FBI, all of that, I mean, I believe Secret Service was involved in the beginning. Maybe they can look at this video as well. Let's bring people back to the table, and let's exercise every possibility of enhancing this video, looking at whatever, and tackling what it is to get an answer.
Now, this is your chance to respond, to speak out, to speak your mind, whatever it is that you want to say. But you know, no matter what the story is, there are always people who will point fingers. What do you want to say to anyone out there who wants to say that one of you could have something to do with Sebastian's disappearance?
I would say to pause and to think, and I would say to consider the sources of information. Try to make sure that you're getting legitimate information. Avoid the rumors. And I would say that everyone should pause and remember why we all came together in the first place, and that is because Sebastian's missing, and because I'd like to believe that we all want to find him. And no matter what anyone's personal opinion is, that the most important thing still remains, that Sebastian needs to be found and Sebastian needs to come home. And I would just say thank you to everyone and anyone that is a part of that.
So let's say Sebastian is listening when this is running, and he hears you, he sees you. What do you want to say to him?
I would say that I love you so very much, and that I hope that you're okay, and I would say that know that we all love you, and that there are so many people that care and so many people that are looking, and hang in there and know that we're gonna find you, know that we're gonna bring you home. I miss him so much.
So at this point, it's keep searching. People keep looking.
Keep searching, keep looking. We keep putting up new flyers. I know a lot of places, they take them down after so long. We just keep going back and putting more up. I refer to my original request just to anyone that's willing. Don't let him become forgotten. Don't let him become lost in the next story. Not to supersede other children, because they all deserve just as much, if not more, attention, because all children do. But I would say just please don't let him become forgotten and lost, because we're never gonna stop. We're never gonna let that happen if we can help it.
With his autism, is there anything else that we should add that you want the public to know right now?
I would say that he is what they would consider high functioning. He's not, he doesn't struggle with verbal communication, but he does, he does struggle sometimes with expressing himself, is I guess the best way that I could put that. But he's so smart, and he's so capable, and that I think the initial image of him that was portrayed was misleading to an extent. And I think that in the chaos of trying to get the initial information about him out, that various things got taken and misconstrued. So I would just tell everyone that he's smart, he's capable, he's funny, he's able to speak to you and to recognize things. You know, he's a teenager, and you know, so he's a young man. Honestly, he just had a birthday, and I'm sure that his mustache is coming in more. I mean, he really is a good kid.
What do you miss most about your son?
Oh, God. I miss his smile. I miss his laugh. I miss going and doing fun things with him. I miss taking him to get a haircut and him saying, "Mom, feel my head." I miss cooking dinner with him. I miss game nights. He would play Uno until the sun came up if you let him. You know, he goes through phases of which games he's into, but, you know, I miss him. I miss everything about him, the good, the bad. I miss his attitude. I miss, you know, him trying to eat all the sweets instead of dinner. I miss him stealing my Brussels sprouts while I'm trying to cook them.
Oh. I sense lots of joy that's being missed right now.
Green tea.
His jokes, the way he laughs when he tells a funny. He had, there's a video that I put out that he was being goofy, and he had this like half-gallon of green tea that he had gotten from the grocery store, and he thought of this joke, and he ran in the kitchen and he grabbed a green cup and he was like, "Mom, green tea!" And it was just so funny, and I was just like, "Dude, hold on, you gotta do that again." And I grabbed my phone and I was like, "You gotta do it again." And he was like, "Green tea!" And he was just like, it's not in the video, but he was just rolling because he just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And
he's got some quirky one-liners.
oh God, he was getting he was getting to where he had some good ones.
Sounds like a great sense of humor.
It was definitely developing. He was coming into his sarcasm. You know, like one of the other videos I released, when it's hard to hear, but we were bowling, and because he has a lot of fun with it. He actually was getting a lot better without bumpers, but he like rolled a good roll, and he turns around and he's like, "You got wrecked, Mom." And I was just like, what is happening right now? But I mean, I miss that, you know. I miss being able to hang out with him, you know, because he's not little anymore, you know. Which we had a lot of fun when he was little, but when they get older, you know, you start being able to do different things with them, and you know, game nights are, God, they're a blast sometimes.
We didn't have pool days this year.
Yeah, pool days. That's big in the summer. He loves to go to the pool as much as possible.
Swimming.
Swims. Oh God, he loves to swim. He's, I don't know if I put that picture out or not, but there's one that I took of him. He has on this like giant, I think it was a flamingo, and he was just like, just being a cool guy.
Being a fun kid. For our viewers, before we end this, I guess your message for them is just keep hope alive.
Yes. Remember him.
Keep looking.
Share his face, because talking about him is what we want to do, but we want to make sure that people know his face. We want to know that people know who they're looking for, and we would just ask that everyone just kind of be aware of your surroundings in general. You never know, and all it takes is just one person that could make a difference. And go ahead.
I would say, if anything, constantly being vigilant, just looking out there, aware of what your surroundings are. Please, if you see something, call 911, call TBI. I know there's a lot of other things out there, but
we would encourage.
We just need, it needs to be segregated. Like, just a single point of right back to law enforcement. That's where it needs to go. Anybody that sees anything, just report it, please.
Do you feel that there's someone out there right now that knows something? They're just not saying it?
It's hard to say until we can run down this video and figure out what we're seeing. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to, because it's an active investigation. I don't want to add any more chaos that's already out there. We just want to keep this to the core, Sebastian.
Keeping hope alive.
Yes.
The
Keeping
search
hope
goes
alive.
on. We are hopeful and we are praying for you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which is to viewers.
My message would be, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for helping spread his flyer, his story.
Okay, that was a bunch of nothing. No surprise there. Again, I'm not surprised with the questions asked, considering some of the things that have been going on, which we'll kind of talk about as we go through. Like I said, I prepared a big show for you guys. I'm just looking at my notes here just a second. All right, so I did record that, but yeah, no surprise, they're not going to talk about the timeline at all, which to me would be important. Why not reminisce? Maybe you might have remembered something. It's been a year and thought, oh, well, just like the thud or whatever. But of course, I'm assuming before this interview ever happened, they had to agree. Oh, okay, let's get out of that. Let's get out of that.
Here's to bring you. We have new video
playing all of a sudden. There we go. But yeah, no surprise that they didn't talk anything about the timeline or anything. I'm sure those were prearranged questions that she could ask them, of course. So not, again, not to harp on the reporter. I don't think that's her fault with the questions. I'm sure they had to, because there's certain developments behind the scenes that are going on, and we'll kind of address those at a certain point. So let's get into it, guys. Again, thank you so much. We've got 1,400 people in here. If you can, please hit that like button. I'll try to get to some of the chat as well. But again, so I prepared a big show. Try to put it in chronological order. We will talk about, again, as I was putting this together, I had came across that interview with Lord Lodge with SF, and he was talking about something, and I'm like, holy shit. He's been sitting on this footage for at least a month. And again, this all just goes back to that they just wanted to put this out on the anniversary to have some kind of narrative to say, hey, look, I hired this PI, just like I said, last week, that I feel like this was all prearranged to kind of make him look like, yeah, we didn't have anything to do with it. Look, he's wandering around, or we believe that could be him. And yeah, what a bunch of nonsense. So I'll just play this. Well, I don't think I need to play the recap, right? Well, let me do that so I can get to chat real quick, and then I can get caught up.
Missing juvenile, 2008 Traffic Court, 1008 Traffic Court.
Yeah.
Call guys this morning. They was having a 15-year-old male talking to bed. We are right now, three on here by my bed, but we're going to turn down. I'm going to be wearing a black sweatshirt.
Thank you so much, Queen. God bless you, sweetheart. Melissa, coming a member. Thank you so much.
I'm going to be in the home before midnight. All the doors are locked at this time.
Jennifer Jones, thank you so much for coming a member, supporting this channel.
Sebastian Rogers.
Tom, good to see you, buddy. I know he's working hard.
Autistic teenager who lives
Kimberly,
in
thank you so much
Tennessee.
for the $10 super chat.
He was
God
last
bless
seen
you.
Sunday night on February 25th.
So that poor lady that we featured earlier, we always feature a missing person. And this was a special request. Tom is actually out in that direction where that lady went missing, and he says, update, they found the girl from New Mexico, body. So that's terrible. It sounded like there could be some foul play behind that. So that's very tragic. I feel really bad, especially just watching the sister there. Jules, thank you so much for the $1.99. Trey Monkey says, anybody else feel uncomfortable? Yeah, I mean, I was not surprised with the questions. Not at all. Yeah, we are close to 90K. If we hit there's 200 of you that haven't subscribed, please, that'd be so awesome to hit that 90K. Then we just have that one big milestone. I mean, it'd mean the world to me. All right, let's get going. Like I said, I put a lot together for you guys, and I try to put it in chronological order. I will be adding a few little tidbits of stuff that I haven't shared before. Not a lot, but a few things. And then we'll definitely get to that SF thing that I discovered. So let's just go back. Obviously, Monday, it was originally an endangered child alert on the 26th.
Child alert was issued for then 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. But on day 2, February 27th, the TBI announced that the child alert has been elevated to an Amber Alert. According to the article, it claims based on additional investigative information developed during the search. Here is the actual post from the TBI where at 3:28 p.m. Central Time on day 2, TBI announced it was elevating to the Amber Alert due to additional info found in his disappearance. Amber Alert are typically known to mean a child abduction, and in the case of Sebastian Rogers, it is still active as of this live show, nearly 11 months later.
So, obviously that's big. Something they found that they decided that they needed to elevate that. And then we know that this footage, it's somewhere in the first 2 to 5 days that this clip with this 3D scanner, and I just wonder if they brought this in right after that upgraded to the Amber Alert. But again, we've talked about this previous live, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But for anybody that hasn't seen this, there they are with that 3D scanner. You typically see that, when they're working like a homicide case, or it's even used in I'm sorry, I got this full screen. Just realized that. Or sometimes they use it for vehicle reenactment, recreation. But that technology is, super advanced. It's a thing that scans 360. It takes thousands of photos, recreates basically a full 3D rendering.
Crime scenes and vehicle crash.
What could be a crime scene or whatever. But I find it odd that they'd be using that. Why would they be using that in just a missing persons case, unless they believe it could lead to, a criminal investigation? But and then recently, so I know this is not too big of news, but of course now more, there was that confusion where there was the last seen date, some had the 25th and then a lot of them had the 26th. I think what happened is, especially when they upgraded it to that Amber Alert, and they put like the February 26th, and then I think like probably maybe it was TBI or FBI, and then people just carbon copied that, and then didn't really think about that that date, when it went up one, may not have been correct. And now they have, I think TBI and FBI have now
February 25th
corrected the
at his home in Henderson
date of last seen. So it's not the 26th, it's the 25th. Because a lot of people are wondering, well, if it said the 26th, that would mean maybe he was seen on one of these cameras, and we haven't heard about it from law enforcement. But they have now corrected it. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it says February 25th. Okay. So SF, obviously hired by the Proudfoot. Here's a statement he put out. This was 2 weeks ago when, or a little less than 2 weeks ago, when he put that video out, which was obviously supposed to go with these interviews. But then, of course, they reported it kind of early, which clearly upset him because he wanted that out during the anniversary. And I think I know why that they released that, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But I just want to read a quote from him real quick right here. And then we're going to get right into the timeline stuff, and then we will get to that part, I promise you. Because I did find something he said, and I could tell you that he sat on this footage for well over a month. But here in his quote, he says, what does help find him is searching, creating awareness, reviewing surveillance footage, and asking real questions. So I ask you guys, the viewers that have been following me for a long time, because obviously he's trying to respond to the backlash and everything. And what is one thing that I've been doing on this channel for almost like, what feels like a year, but like 6 months at the very least. I mean, if you come into my channel, what do you usually see me doing? Now, I'm sure we'll get a bunch of responses, but I have it here down in the red. I mean, that is like the main thing I do is review surveillance footage. So I just kind of think it's ironic that he'd post this, and then of course he's, because I've gone after him because I feel like he hasn't been forthcoming, and I feel like, I don't like what he's doing, obviously, because it's he's trying to put narratives out there, and we'll show some of those examples, but yeah, reviewing footage. I mean, that's the main thing, and it's not like I'm just, again, I've always said surveillance footage is unbiased. It's going to take you wherever. But anyway, I digress. We will circle back to this, but I wanted to kind of do everything in order here. So here's some interviews. Now, I know we've all seen the interviews 1,000 times. I'm just taking just some of the highlights, and I'm just going to kind of prove a theory or / point on what I have seen throughout the year with these interviews that stick out to me. Yeah, review. Yeah. I mean, I've tried to do, and if I've said, I've asked for surveillance footage, I'd be more than happy, but here is some of the things, when you go back and you look at the totality of these interviews, the early ones, notice they don't, except for this anniversary, they haven't done interviews, especially we haven't seen Katie for a long time, and we'll kind of explain why. I can't explain the whole story, but I can give at least the overall version of it. But here's what you see in these interviews. Katie and Chris are very detailed about the day before, and most specifically that night before, between 9 p.m. and midnight. I mean, when it comes to times, they are very, they're down to 9, hear a thud, around 10, fall asleep. And then, and we have all these, times. And then with Katie talking about the day prior, I mean, she's vague a little in some areas, but for the most part, she, is pretty detailed. But then when it comes to that morning, which you would think would be very vivid, right? Because you're waking up to what you're now discovering to be your worst nightmare. Your son is gone, not in his bed. You would think this would be very vivid. But yet she is very vague about that morning. And then not long after she starts talking about, looking for Sebastian, this is when Chris takes over and starts talking, even though he is so many, 100 miles away, 200 miles away. But yet that is the basically the totality of everything. So we're going to just play a few interviews. I go in chronological order, and I'm just going to show these points.
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
And the exhale. That's the other thing I meant to mention is the exhale. I know a lot of people mention that, and even in my comment section. Notice the exhales. This will be another pattern that we see throughout these interviews.
And so at that point, is that when you call 911 or what's going through your mind?
While we were on the phone.
So now she looks for her son, not very specific. And then once we get to that phone call, it's Chris, right? And we're going to see that throughout the interviews.
I was like, is he on the other side of the bed? The normal places he may be in the house, and he wasn't. So I was like, okay, well, hold on a minute. And immediately after that, we called the sheriff's department and made the report.
I ran all over the house, outside, inside. I looked in every closet.
Within minutes, they were here. They responded within minutes, and here we go.
And then that comment, here we go. I know I've mentioned this before, but again, this is a full breakdown because it's a 1 year anniversary. And I promise you, I've added some new stuff. There's tons of stuff. I've been working the last 2 days for this.
So you said
they responded within minutes, and here we go.
So you said,
and I'm going in chronological order.
A little later in the evening, I myself went to bed, and when I went to wake him up for school, he wasn't here.
Between the hours of 12 and 6.
And that's the other thing a lot of people point out too, is how did they know? Because remember, she hears the thud around like 10, and remember, she falls asleep for an hour or whatever, and then gets woken up by Chris. They go to bed. She never mentions going to check on Sebastian. So how do they know that he didn't go missing right after that thud? Or was that thud him escaping, or whatever, after she has? Because then of course then she expands on that, saying that I don't know what you're doing in there, and then he responds allegedly.
He has basically vanished. Walked out of the house, the door was locked, and gone.
He didn't take a phone. None of his shoes are missing.
Now, you told me that night that, now, Chris, you were at work. You were out of town at work,
Yes,
so you were not even home.
Correct, ma'am.
And, Mom, you fell asleep on the couch about 10 o'clock, but you said that Sebastian went to bed at 9 p.m., and then you got up off the couch and you went to bed, and you said that was around midnight. And nothing was unusual at that point. Everything seemed okay.
There's actually a piece of, so to make something very crystal clear, so that way there's transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening.
So here we go. Same thing. We have a very specific time, 9:43, 9:46.
We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified by all the police departments, TBI included.
And why would that need to be a huge importance if, he allegedly went missing? I mean, I know it's good to have those details, but it's like he's so focused on that night before, and between those times, almost like for an alibi.
We stayed on the phone. It was very lengthy. Mom did slightly start falling asleep while she was on the couch. I had said, hey, you need to wake up, put the dogs up, go to bed. Now, mind you, that was right around midnight, just before midnight or right around midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So then Mom does go to bed and wakes up early in the morning to go wake her son up, get him ready for school. And now we have a worried mom who can't find her son in the house. Mom made an effort to look and search several times. Mom has called me at the time and asked me, she was like, I can't find him. I was like, do what? She goes, yeah, I cannot find him. I said, well, hang on. I made the phone call and reported it to the sheriff's department because that's what we're supposed to do. And within 10 minutes, the sheriffs were dispatched to the location.
Boy, it'd be nice to see those phone records. So day 11?
And that's when I panicked.
And when you panicked, what did you do?
First thing I did was call my husband, and I said, he's not here. My husband said, what do you mean he's not here? I said, he's not in the house. And he said, immediately just started, did you check here? Did you check there? Did you look here? And I ran through the house, and at that point I was hysterical, for lack of a word. And we three-wayed the police, and I'm within minutes they were here. I couldn't tell you exactly how long. I know it was fast. And we haven't found him.
When I got the phone call,
and then there we go. Same thing. Gets the phone call. Not very detailed on, that morning. And then Chris takes over.
He was missing. Like she said, we asked questions like, where's he at? Check this, check that. And then we called the sheriff's department. And I called the sheriff's department. I stayed on the phone pretty much most of the time.
Where is my kid?
Yeah, and again, we got a couple more.
Choice words were used. Where the F is he, I had looked through the house for him, because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that, and he likes to dip behind the walls and watch, and then he comes out after I come back, and he likes to scare me. But after I looked, and mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat, but I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name, and I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood, and I drove over by the school, and he's already at this point I was like hysterical, and I was crying, I was screaming, and he was like three-wayed law enforcement, and was telling them like, our son is missing and we don't know what's going on, and he was like, go back to the house, they're on their way. And I drove back to the house, and
so what do you guys think? Do you think the call happened when she was at the house, or was she in the car? More interviews sound like this happened and she was talking to him before she took off driving, which would be interesting to see the footage from the neighbor across the street, because she actually sees Katie that morning come out and she's yelling Sebastian. It'd be interesting to know, is there a phone in her hand when that's happening?
20 days later, we haven't found him.
Now, this is the very interesting one right here, because remember, she doesn't really ever mention like what time she gets up, like what time, she makes that call to Chris. It's very vague.
Happened, you said that you were on a phone call, you were on the couch, and then you went to bed at midnight. Walk me through exactly what transpired during that time before you went to bed at midnight for you.
So, my husband, he works out of town a lot, so we normally sit and talk every evening, and I normally fall asleep on him. And he'll tell me, wake up, you gotta go to bed. And and that was right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight.
Now notice she keeps repeating herself right here.
Right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight. And I went to sleep, obviously. And then at 6 a.m.
Yeah, I think she's trying to she's like, oh God, I got to get, prepared. So notice this pause after she mentions she gets up at 6 a.m.
I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him. I went to wake him. right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight. And, I went to sleep, obviously. And then at 6 a.m., I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him. And, sorry.
Notice the pause there. To me, I think when she said 6 a.m., I think she was like, oh shit, now I just locked myself into a timeline, that they've been very vague about, They're very detailed the night before, but that morning, we've gotten a 6 a.m. and a 6:03 with many interviews, but those are the only two. But I just find it interesting. And then guess what we get at the very end of this pause?
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
And our exhale that we commonly see with her. So those
Take your time. Tell me, did Sebastian take any type of medication before he went to bed, or?
So, yeah, those are the interviews. I'll just play just a couple of parts of this 1 year anniversary since we've already because I've got a lot and I want to try to get through it. So I'm going to get to chat and read chat a little bit. But here's the 1 year anniversary one that was yesterday. Just going to point a few highlights from it. Camille Norris says, my son went missing.
That have been missing for.
Son went missing for about 10 minutes when I was 3 years old when I lived in Andrews Air Force Base. I was in a panic, called my husband, and he found him asleep under my bed. That was 1987. I remember every second. It can still bring me tears to my eyes. Right. I'm sure I know, because I know, the demographic to a lot of true crime is, it's a lot. I think it's at least my demographic's 80%. And I think it's just kind of like true crime. It's 70%, female. And so a lot of mothers, obviously. And, I could only imagine, I'm sure a lot of mothers, even just being at the grocery store and your son, or child or whatever, kind of runs off for a minute, while you're, grabbing a box of cereal. And then that, just like what Camilla's talking about, even though maybe it's a couple minutes, you lost your son at a grocery store, I'm sure that was, that's something you remember and it's vivid.
A year that Sebastian Rogers has gone without
thank you,
his favorite
Camilla.
things.
Cats are the number one. He loves animals, almost all animals.
Animals, video games, books, and any chance in the pool.
He loves water. He swims like a fish.
Sebastian also missed his birthday.
December 7th. He would have... He turns...
That's not good. And I know, I put that out last night. And I noticed this as well. I know a lot of people pointed this out as well. Does it look like she almost was about to say shit? And one more time.
And any chance in the pool.
He loves water. He swims like a fish.
Sebastian also missed his birthday.
December 7th. He would have...
Right here. It looks like she's about to say shit.
He turned 16, and
not good.
He should be home for that.
But Sebastian, who has autism,
Paperman,
been home since February
who would say he
year.
wouldn't?
After dinner at the Texas Roadhouse on the 25th, Katie says she and her son went home.
Would say he would have, speaking on his birthday.
Caused him to run away. Was he punished in any way? An argument? Just a normal night?
It was a normal night.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but thank you for the membership. And
when I went in his
I don't know if you're referring to this, but yeah, that quote is disturbing. June, thank you so much for matching. God bless you, sweetheart.
Searched the house and drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. until she and Sebastian's stepfather,
I'll
who
get more
says
to
he
chat
was
here in
away
a
from work
second.
at the time, called police.
on if he had gone with someone, if someone took him.
Detectives have vetted, and if
And the only other thing I just want to point out is her words of unfortunately.
There were quite a bit of people that were, sending some very threatening and hateful messages to us.
What would you say to those people?
Night, every moment of
is confirmed by investigators. Unfortunately, any possible break in Sebastian's case
To run away. Was he punished in any way? An argument
who has autism hasn't been home since February of last year. After dinner at the Texas Roadhouse on the 25th, Katie says she and her son went home.
Did anything happen the night he went missing that was cause him to run away? Was he punished in any way? An argument? Just a normal night?
It was a normal night. It was a calm night.
That turned tumultuous by the next morning.
It was when I went in his room and
let me get through this real quick. Deanna, you do great work, Chris. Thank you so much, Deanna. God bless you.
In his bed.
Katie says she frantically
thank you so much, DC Primetime, for the $2.99. God bless. And thank you so much, Sensei. I'll get to more here in a bit. All right.
I guess from law enforcement.
Okay, so now we're going to get into that night. Like I said, I put everything as much as I can in chronological order. So parts of this is a little bit of Sweetie Pilo. So what happened to him? Basically the last proof of life that we know. And then we'll get into that night.
Who interviewed the neighbor who lives across the street from the Proudfoots.
That really matters. So there's a lot of speculation. When was he last seen? 6:30 on Sunday night. Law enforcement has him on camera leaving the steakhouse. They drive for 9 minutes back to the house. Now, about a week after this information was uncovered, I guess, from law enforcement, or it's actually, no, about a week into the investigation, then Katie comes out and says, hey, by the way, I have dash cam footage. So Sebastian is actually heard in the vehicle on dash cam during that drive home. So we know for sure.
And to me, I know I've said this before, I think that's a red flag. Why would she need to show proof of life unless they started looking at this investigation under a different light, if you know what I mean?
Sure. 100%. And so far, my source has been on point.
Ellen says people tend to look right when lying. They avoid eye contact, fidget, rapid blinking, change of pitch or tone, is nervousness and sweating. She did all of those. I could not agree more. Yeah, that interview from yesterday. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of them, really. She doesn't do much eye contact. It's very odd. Thank you so much, June, for all the donations. God bless you, sweetheart. We've got Mufez. If I pronounce that right. First time I've caught a live in ages. Hello, member for almost 24 months. That's awesome. Thank you so much. So we have the Texas Roadhouse footage. Dog released more, or not more, but he released like a AI enhanced version the other day. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We kind of talked about this in the last live. I've definitely gone back and forth on this green hoodie lady. I know some people are wondering about the guy in the yellow jacket. I've looked at it. I don't see anything nefarious with the yellow guy. I'm more concerned about this lady, green hoodie. I think like I said, going back and forth, I think there was some kind of exchange of something. Whether it's nefarious or not, I don't know. But to me, and I said this before, it's kind of like, could this be as just as simple as, like I said, the only app I can think of is, I think it's like Let Go, where you sell something, a pair of shoes, old shoes or something, earrings, whatever. And anyway, and so I've done that before, and I've been out, and then, usually you just kind of meet somewhere, and sometimes, you might be at a store, or in this case, a restaurant, and then the buyer would come, or it could be vice versa, and she could be the seller, and maybe Katie's buying something. I don't know, but I think going back and forth on this. She arrives 2 minutes before, and she literally stands between the two cars. You know, we've talked about this, and that's just so bizarre. You know, and then the fact that Katie just walks right up to her instead of it just being some stranger and her waiting to, you know, come through between the cars. I think something went down. Again, is it nefarious or not? I don't know, but I know law enforcement has said that they cleared this person. Always keep in mind, the one thing that we learned from having Steve, you know, former detective on, is law enforcement can lie to the public, or, you know, not that they want to, but of course if they're trying to keep certain details close to the vest, you know, they may just say, yeah, we've talked to this person and cleared them, but yet, you know, it may not be the whole truth. So do keep that in mind. But it does look like there's some kind of exchange. I know somebody thinks that there's somebody sitting in this car. I don't think so. I think what we see is an actual reflection of Green Hoodie, which is interesting. You see that actually a little bit better with the AI enhanced. But then again, I explained AI enhancement where it can kind of be a double-edged sword, because when you do AI enhancement, it smooths the pixels out and it can cause things to look not as they are. And here's a perfect example of this right here. If you look at Sebastian, if you're on your phone, I apologize, but if you notice, it looks like he's missing his right hand. And that's because with AI, again, it tries to smooth the pixels out. And so now it's actually smoothing, covering his part of his right hand with the pixels from the car, because it's trying to smooth everything out, especially when stuff's in motion. So again, that can alter the way you're looking at things. So keep that in mind. But yeah, he's not missing a right hand. It's just because of the AI enhancement, it has now caused the hand to kind of blur into the car. And anyway. Okay.
Pretty late
so
at the point.
Now
okay.
moving further
came out
on
in the
into the night.
So Sunday being the day before he disappears. He is observed taking the trash out.
And there's one thing that I heard that's kind of a little update. Because remember, this is Sweetie Pilo, so shout out to her. I think she's now starting to cover Sebastian Rogers again. She covered it early on. She spoke to this neighbor, which lives across the street, who has a Ring Bell camera. And it's looking obviously at the front of Sebastian Rogers' home. And she went back and looked at that footage multiple times. And this Sweetie Pilo was able to interview her and get a lot of good information. And everything that she said, like 11 months ago, everything has checked out. So very interesting. But there's one thing that she talked about that I'll mention that I think now has been corrected.
Pretty late at night. You know, I can't remember if it was like 6 or 7, but it was somewhat late at night. I guess if you don't get your trash out early, you're gonna miss the opportunity. So the trash guy comes at like so early, and on that day he came at 5:12 a.m. What I understand, the only lights that were on were the garage lights. When Katie says that she put him to bed at 9.
Sorry, that cut off. I don't know why.
9 o'clock, the lights went out at exactly 9:08 p.m.
Okay. So that's just kind of a street view. That's his bedroom there. He's got this kind of one big window here that faces the front, which is circled right here. So that's his bedroom. So she can see the neighbor across the street. You know, I'm sure it's really tiny, but she can tell if his bedroom light is on or not. And then, you know, you have the garage, and then you have the, I don't know, kitchen, dining, or I think it'd be dining room maybe right here in the middle.
Then at about 11:45, her light goes out. Katie's light. So the mother's.
which must have been one of the lights in the middle. One of these two right here, I'm assuming. So that tells you just how much that she could see, because, you know, obviously we just have that one screenshot and the garbage truck's in the way, so we can't really see as well at the house.
So it's like, what happened? This is crazy. But I want to tell you, what was observed was the living room light on, the garage light on. And there was a door that was open.
Now, so this has allegedly been corrected from what I understand. Now, dude, take this with a grain of salt. They're claiming that this was actually a window, but I don't know if she means like the window was like open, you know, like the blinds were open. I don't know how you would be able to tell like the window is actually open, you know what I mean, when it's this kind of night, unless like the light was on or something. But that's what I've heard. Again, I'm not 100% on that, so do take that with a grain of salt. But
and I think it was open for a long period of time.
But that is interesting.
Could that have been the entrance for? So it's even extra secure in that regard. Does mom park in garage regularly? I asked. Yes, always. Mom.
Yes. So then so like I said, I'm trying to go in chronological order with everything that's been released throughout the entire year. I'm trying to go through everything that we know, you know, in chronological. So obviously the next thing would be, after Sebastian allegedly goes to bed, would be this midnight thing that, of course, SF has been, you know, trying to promote. And so remember, he says that 12:12, that there's one person walking their dog that comes out. But at 12:17, there is what he claims is another person that appears to be hiding and then running off. And this is the whole video that they've been trying to promote with the anniversary. Well, as going back and doing some research, I discovered something very disturbing that we're going to talk about. So let's get right into this, because this absolutely made me so upset. So, like I said, we're just going in chronological order with all the surveillance that has been released up to this date throughout the neighborhood. So we have the 12:12. Now this is on Kellen, so maybe I should just pull up the, just for reference here. I'm sure most of you guys know where this is at, but just in case there's a few that, now I'm not going to show the exact home, but basically, so this is Sebastian's home. You know, there's just two main roads, cameras littered everywhere. But this particular camera is it's one of these houses on the right, and it's they got multiple cameras. Keep that in mind. This is just one angle, but this particular angle looks up Killen, and you can actually see the house on Devon, and that's the home where this guy comes out to walk his dog. And I know that's very far out there. You see the little circle here, but like I said, we're just kind of going in order here. Is Pincho Paxton still working on it? I am not sure. I need to go check. Anybody in the chat knows? Yeah, huge shout out to him. And I do have something of his that I was going to shout out. But here's something more zoomed in. And this is a guy. And the biggest thing to note is that, you know, before he comes out, his light is off. And when he comes out to walk his dog, his light is on. So that's a huge clue to us. And now keep in mind, he doesn't have a big area on Devon to walk, right? Now, according to SF, with this video, you see somebody that's walking down Kellen. And then this is where it frustrates me, because he uses the words, well, it appears that a subject runs from or hides, and uses the word hide, behind the car, and then takes off in the other direction. But honestly, that's not the truth, because the guy just kind of walks, the subject walks towards the car, and the car just obscures this subject. And then the guy, whoever it is, which is likely the guy just walking his dog, he's not even hiding. This is what frustrates me. He's not even hiding. Keep in mind, this is kind of slowed down for a minute. He's only behind the car for a few seconds. Like, I don't know how you consider that hiding. You would think, okay, if he's hiding, he's going to, he's going to run behind the car, and then, we're going to be sitting there for, 5, 10 seconds, whatever. Maybe see somebody else wandering off, in the background, and then we see the person then come out. But that's not the case. The guy just happens to be obscured by the car for a minute, and then goes back the same direction. And then the main thing is we see that the light where the guy that we know with the dog is still on. So it's pretty just common sense that it is just the same person. But of course, then he kind of tried to double down and say, no, this is two different people. And then, of course, like I said, I've spoken with my sources and locals out there, and they know that this particular person does walk his dog and has, I wouldn't say a routine, but they've seen that person go around Devon and then come down Kellen a bit and then walk back up. So, it's pretty obvious, right? Oh, good to see you, Pincho. Oh, I bet it takes you a lot, man. Great work, always, man. I've seen your channel grow, and you deserve it. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've done 3D rendering, and I know that's a lot of work. And you deserve every shout out for all that amazing work, bud. So anyway, again, just another reason why I get upset at SF, because I discovered something. I know we talked about this. This wasn't Sebastian. I don't think this is Sebastian. It's just the same guy. He probably walked down Devon, going around the cul-de-sac. I mean, he only has a few areas to go. I mean, where do you think he's going to go after the cul-de-sac? If he's walking his dog for, say, 5 to 10 minutes. And, because the construction site, that road didn't go through. It was just a big dirt mound. So obviously he would have just gone around Devon, went around the cul-de-sac, and then came down. And then maybe the dog went to the bathroom or whatever. And then he just happened to be around the car when they turned around. And anyway, so what I found today that would just absolutely made me so upset, and it doesn't surprise me. I
have something of him.
Okay. So as you guys know, and I'm sure you guys are smart, but I said that I guarantee this whole narrative is to fit their whole anniversary, right? They wanted to come on with this anniversary. We haven't seen them. We don't see them out there looking. And then here they can do these interviews and say, look, we hired this, PI, and look, he found some footage that could potentially be Sebastian. Big news. But then the news, apparently he sent that in like a week earlier, whatever. They released the footage right away, and he was upset, and that made no sense. It's like, if you thought, you might have a chance that it is Sebastian, don't you want to get it out there, and especially to law enforcement? Maybe they missed this. But no, it's because you want that narrative, because you want him to get to that damn construction site. Well, I went back and listened to his interview with Lore Lodge, and we'll take a listen to this and tell me if this does not upset you. And then we'll continue the chronological order, because then we'll get to the 3 lights.
We have something of him. Listen, I'll be honest with you. We have something from after midnight of a person we can't identify.
We have something. Let me back that up, because he right away. This is what he says right here.
Something. I could be wrong, strategy wise, but I just don't think. I mean, well, let me back that up. From that camera, it's hard because I go back and forth. I don't think that he's caught on that camera at all, but I do. In the last week,
And then he starts talking about this camera, because I know he's talking about this particular camera. This particular home has multiple angles, has multiple cameras. I'll just tell you that right now. But there's things that he said before that are related to this particular camera.
I do believe that they have something of him. Listen, I'll be honest with you. We have something from after midnight of a person we can't identify. I don't know if it's him. I'm not starting to remember, but so I think they might be in the same situation where there might be other cameras that we don't know about.
Can I ask, is this the so-called flashlights video, or is this something else?
This is something else.
Okay, so is it just an unidentified person walking past or through the property?
It's a person but because they're wearing very dark clothing and because the light, it looks like, I don't know if you saw in the Riley Strain case, do you remember like under the bridge when there was people walking by, but it was so opaque you could barely see the person. So it's like that, but it's clearly a person. There's no doubt about it. But does
this sound like he's describing a certain video in a certain part? Let me know in the chat. Does this sound like exactly what we're looking at? That he's been sitting on for over a month? That piece of scum? Because let's just say if this was actually potentially Sebastian, they just sat on it for at least a month, maybe longer, just so they could wait for that anniversary to put out that narrative. Instead of sending it over to law enforcement going, hey, look, we might have something. No, they're just going to sit on it. That disgusts the hell out of me.
there's no way you could identify who that person is, but based on the time and the place, it's like, there's only so many people it could be, really.
Yeah, it would. Especially with where that neighborhood is, it's a development. Like there's no passing through that neighborhood to get somewhere else. If you're in that neighborhood, you're in that neighborhood to be there.
Yeah.
So it would have to be you would expect it to be somebody who lives there, especially if they're out walking late at night. So
well, the quick follow up I have to that is, did you see any unusual or notable vehicles in any of the footage?
I do want to get to that in just. I think the vehicles question is good because I definitely want to know about that as well. This footage you do have that shows this person. Are they walking? Is it like, are they walking along the street? Do they seem to be cutting through a backyard? Like,
they come down a street.
They come down a street, down Kellen. This is it. He is describing this clip, and he has been sitting on this for over a month. Just so they could fit that narrative on the anniversary. That is disgusting. Because just by chance this was Sebastian, they're just going to hold on to it. And it just, again, I'll get upset, but it's disgusting. You're scum.
When I say down, I don't want people are going to think I'm talking downhill and stuff, but
yeah.
They come
flashlights outside.
So anyway,
there was a
yeah, I was going back to get another clip from him, and I was listening to that, and I'm like, holy shit, he's literally describing word for word what is going on in this video. And it's disgusting. And again, I'm going to put this on Twitter because, people need to see this, that, he's sitting on stuff like this. I get it if you're going to look at it and you're not 100% sure one way or the other, but knowing that he's going to be using this for a narrative. And then I'll show you the repercussions of this that just disgust me even
garbage
further.
truck. There was the fact that the camera had the wrong timestamp.
They said no.
So we'll get back to that in a minute. How do you know when he gave it to law enforcement? I don't even think he did give it to law enforcement. That just speaks volumes. He blatantly came out and said, I'm not working. I'm working independently. So that just shows you, that means he found something that could potentially be Sebastian. He's had it for at least a month, and he's just sat on it. Because he wanted to use that for that anniversary narrative. It's disgusting.
I think that
and that's why the news, because, they actually care and want to find Sebastian. They're like, okay, this guy sends a clip in, but he doesn't want it used until a week for the anniversary, or whenever they got it. Obviously, they got it days before. they're probably thinking, well, God, we should probably put this out because maybe law enforcement doesn't know about it. You know what I mean? And then he got mad. Like I said, the guy, you could see right through this guy and what he's trying to do.
I could see, but our neighbors don't know.
All right, so moving on with the timeline. But yeah, I discovered, I'm like, holy shit, he's been sitting on this, and it just shows scum.
Everything about us. Our friends don't know everything about us. Our family even sometimes doesn't know everything about us. So could something be missed? Of course. So the one, what's the right word? Like the one thing, the one variable, how about that? Is that she parks her car in the garage. That light was on the entire night. So if the light to the garage was on the entire night, I feel like could that suggest that, again, with a very well-planned plan, you would keep lights on. You would want everything to stay exactly as it should be so you could carry out what it is you want to carry out. So it looks so by the outside, right? From the outsider looking in, everything looks unassuming and just normal.
Yep. I agree, Sensei. Okay, so like I said, we're going in with everything that's been released. So we're just going in chronological order. So, we had the midnight thing of this, guy walking his dog. Now for, this is when things went down, right? And so far, up to a year, there has been nothing that has changed that, right? There's nothing that's came out that says, oh, well, there wasn't this car or this, I know that law enforcement came out early and said, any cars that were out that night have been identified. But remember, I got to remind you guys, they don't always tell the public the truth. Just keep that in mind. So this is where the big one, the 2:58 a.m. car.
The Uber was there for a long time. And I think even the gentleman who got the Uber to go to the airport had put it on Facebook in the first day or two that he's like, oh, I had an Uber come at 3:30 in the morning. So that had been known. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't a neighbor. Not a neighbor. It was somebody in the neighborhood. It was somebody on Kellen. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't afraid to put that out. However, the other vehicle, which I can listen, I know nobody wants to take my word for it, but I can promise you, the car is not foreign to the neighborhood.
So again, for anybody that maybe missed the last two lives, the one thing I was able to share, and this is something that was looked at, this footage, okay, this particular footage that has this car from that camera angle, they looked at it recently. It goes up at 2:58. I don't have a time. I asked if I could get the time, have a timestamp. They could tell me that, who knows in the future, but I was thankful they could tell me it. And like I said, the quote was, it's really quick. The car comes back down killing. So again, ask yourself, what is this car doing at 2:58? Going all the way down Kellen. Nobody's getting a DoorDash. Not to say it's not possible. Nobody's getting a DoorDash, likely at 3 a.m. And then again, this all then ties into the 3 a.m. lights and vehicle. Do you think it's a coincidence?
It's known, and they are not that.
And here's one thing I thought was very interesting that SF shared, and I wish I had time to put that. I don't know if it was a tweet or whatever that he had. I think it's a tweet responding to somebody. But one of the narratives that he put out about this car, because remember he says he knows both of the people, is he said that, oh, well, this, there's a family out there with a teenager that, sometimes they just drop off their friends, something to that narrative. I'm sure somebody could correct me. I'm sure I'm kind of getting that. But the basis of it is that, as a teenager, he kind of had loose, the parents were kind of loose about him, even though it was a school night, but he was either dropping or picking off a friend. I want to say dropping off or something like that. But I find that interesting that he says that because, my theory and, and others, but, the theory that I've gone off and that hasn't changed is that this car basically did that where it stopped and let out somebody. Or possibly one or more.
That person, I know people would try to find out who that is and whatnot, and they go after them. And this person, quite honestly, this person probably has no idea that people are trying to figure out
Thanks, Alex.
what car that is and stuff. And it has nothing to do with anything. Unfortunately, keep in mind, we want to find the clue. So it's disappointing to us as well when none of these things are connecting.
So you say that this vehicle is not foreign to the neighborhood. Are you then saying that the vehicle is commonly in the neighborhood but is not owned by someone in the neighborhood?
That'd be fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this?
It's think of it like.
Do you know who the owner?
Think of
You
it
know
that-
who the owner of the vehicle is.
Yes.
Okay. You were
Liar.
saying something. I don't want to cut you off.
Think of it as like there's daily like people that come in Ubers and stuff like that, or Amazon deliveries
So
or whatever it may
we've heard
be.
his garbage story, but again, this is what I've showed. I've had this kind of diagram 6 months ago, and there has been nothing yet that's came out to change or combat this narrative. My theory. Working
Nothing,
theory.
absolutely zero to.
I think they stopped somewhere just before Kellen, before they turned on to Stafford. I think they let a couple people out, at least one, maybe two. And then I think they knew about a lot of the cameras out there. I'm sure they did their due diligence. And I'm pretty sure there's a camera on one of these houses. There, like I said, just about every other house has a camera. What direction it's pointing. Some just have their camera where it's just pointing like towards their front yard, so it's not really at the yard. But again, I think there's at least two important cameras that this car was seen on. And I really think that they tried to make it look like, in my opinion, that they were dropping off, kind of like what SF said, like they were just dropping off a friend, right? And then that they maybe knew that there was a camera like on one of these two houses. And so they let those people out, one or whatever. And then they turned on, just barely on to Stafford. They knew about the camera at this home, but I don't think they realized the point of view of the camera. I don't think they realized how wide it was. And I don't think they thought that was going to be caught on camera. And I think they turned on to that. So that way it just looked like a car came up, came down, dropped like a friend off, and then they just kind of slowly turned on to Stafford, just barely, hoping to be out of view of the cameras. And then that way the abduction happens, potential abduction in my opinion, which went down in a matter of minutes or less.
Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later, and it's...
So remember, that quote, I know I played it before, but because he has the entire footage, not the entire footage, but just from the lights. And remember, he's showing the first part and the last part. And the phrase he uses...
sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then, subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later.
And remember, when we see that next clip, and we'll look at him next, when we see that clip with the person running back, that the car is now gone, right? We don't see it anymore unless it's turned off. It could be turned off. but the lights aren't on anymore. I think it's now backed up and is now just getting ready to pick up the 2 individuals or whatever, and then they're dipping out.
And it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area. 2 seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject.
So of course we've gone over these videos a bunch of times, so I'm not going to spend too much, but again, so this is the funny thing, and a lot of people have mentioned this, is they have no issues trying, the parents, are all about this possible Sebastian sighting, with the neighborhood at 1217, but yet they're not going to entertain this 3 a.m. video that clearly, in my opinion, there's a lot of activity going on that is much more suspicious than the 1217 video, but yet they're not going to entertain that. I know they want to go with the whole damn garbage truck, or there's one guy taking out his garbage can. That's what SF has now put out. Yet there's 2 lights, so I don't get it. Is his wife out there helping him take out the trash can? But the one thing that they don't ever mention is this damn thing. I mean, this is the funniest thing, is you have although you have these 2 lights, moving around, yet you have this giant thing light up and nobody talks about it, right? Nobody. SF has not talked about it. He talks about the 2 lights, and then, where allegedly these floodlights are at, trying to, tell people that they're somewhere else. But we know we're looking towards the common area, as we'll now call it. But yeah, I mean, what the hell? This is a huge, again, it's likely a car. But nobody talks about it. Not even Nick Barris talked about it. And I don't think he was probably allowed to. I think because he had to have seen that, right? Because, I mean, it's just below the moving lights. But no mention of that. Wouldn't you, if you're the parents and you had no idea what happened to your son, don't you think you'd want to get to the bottom of what the hell this is and get, a viable explanation? But of course, that's not the case. Yeah, pay no exactly, FBI. Yeah. So moving on, we've of course I've studied this left, right, forward, backwards. I put hundreds of hours just staring at these 4 clips, trying everything I can to point out anything. And it's not just been me. Obviously, it's been a community effort. We've kind of, done some experiments. So again, it's not just all me. The one thing I just want to point out with this is at the very end is when after that one person kind of runs back. And let me just remind you, for those that don't know, this homeowner was, I wouldn't say interviewed, but he was talked to by 2 different people. He came out and even said where he thought he saw the car, which I've talked about. He pointed that it was directly across from his mailbox. And that he also said that when the person was going back, that he could actually kind of see the person jumping the ditch. Because for those that may not know, there is a ditch. Because it's kind of like a not a storm drain, but it's kind of the same concept. But there's a ditch, for, stormwater that runs down. And so it gets a little bit deeper here. And clearly these lights are kind of traveling back and forth. And he was quoted. And 2 sides of the coin, if you know what I mean, heard him say both of these things. So keep that in mind. Because remember, for those that are not familiar with this footage, the footage we have is somebody taking a cell phone and recording it. It's lost a lot of its quality. We're missing a lot of information that if we had the original, we could probably see a lot more of. And so then at that same time, so keep in mind, that same time, then SF puts this out. So we did a little bit of research on this. Now, again, I can't fully vet this, but the timestamp was at 3:07. So keep in mind, this is right around the time when the car would be probably already. This would probably be at towards the end of the whole, in my opinion, of the abduction. This would probably be by the time it's almost over. And when we overlay the lights from a kind of a, not a daytime, but a kind of a late evening to a 3:07, well, we got a spare bedroom light on, which could be just maybe a reflection or a night light. We have one of the sunroom windows, and they have these, well, we'll look at the windows, but anyway, the main thing is Katie's bedroom window here, and you can see it's a rectangle. She has two of them. We can see a light coming through because there's a tree here. That light is on. At 3:07. I mean, multiple lights on. I'm going to say we didn't even see some lights on. And again, there's, I forget what they're called. Somebody knows what kind of shutters they are for those, the blinds. But again, this is an overlay. This isn't, keep in mind, this is two photos. This is the 3:07 overlaid with the daytime. So keep in mind that this is the 3:07. But to me, that's pretty disturbing if that is true. She's supposed to be asleep, but yet, by chance, we have a light on at 3:07. We have the 258 car. We have the 3 a.m. lights, and her bedroom light on. And that's her bedroom. They have these kind of blinds, so they're squares, and so you can. They're kind of like little boxes, so you can close certain blinds. So, again, is that just another strange coincidence, or is this all connecting, little puzzle pieces that we're just kind of slowly putting together, right? How far away did they move? I don't know.
And I'm told it could become more
they haven't been home for a
significant
long time.
depending on where the ongoing investigation.
And exactly what time did this all take place? It's alleged that the owner or friend of the homeowner played the video forward to where they saw the garbage truck.
Okay, let's see what time it is. All right. So I've got two more subjects to go over. I've got one thing, one big thing at the end. Well, I wouldn't say big, but just something to share with you, a little insight that I'll share with you at the end.
Which usually comes around the same time at approximately 5 a.m.
So, obviously one of the reasons why they allegedly the family, or at least, Katie and Proudfoot and SF, they claim this narrative that, well, the reason why we're not looking at those 3 a.m. lights is because that's not what time those were going on. Yet he claims that happens just before the garbage truck comes, but I said that's a bunch of baloney, and he's even gone as far as to say, he spoke with his homeowner and, was told that this was just before the garbage truck came, but that's bullshit because I told you guys that he has a server. He can actually look at the
what I can tell you.
But, obviously we're kind of zoomed in, but he has basically a video player. What I have right here, right? Let me just make this a little smaller, right? With a lot more stuff. But he has a video player, right? Where he's got a timeline, right? So he can click, right? like, let's see where I'm at 120. So you can click right there and go, oh, I see a garbage truck, So I know this, even though my timestamp is frozen, I know here's the garbage truck. That's at around 5 a.m. And then he goes back, 2 hours or whatever, or to the lights, and he notices there's a 2-hour difference. And voila, he knows it's at around 3 a.m. And that's, again, that's been known for a long time. But again, SF is not going to, tell you guys about that because that doesn't fit his narrative or his client's narrative, because obviously that doesn't look good.
With these unusual lights. But what does it actually mean?
Now, remember, this part from Sweetie Pilo was uploaded like 11 months ago. Listen to what she says about the car.
Right? Does it mean that the parents in some way had something to do with it? Great question. Don't know. But what I can tell you is, I guess on any of those streets around there in the middle of the night, because of I guess there's no HOA. So it's completely pitch black in that neighborhood, which makes it incredibly hard for a camera to capture, what's even going on. I'm sure the TBI and stuff has had to really adjust the lighting to try to get any image whatsoever, because it's just so dark. What I was told is every single thing that Katie has said, as of now, Katie is the...
Well, maybe I skipped it because I'm trying to kind of go a little bit faster.
To say they're compliant, but like now, I don't think she's much said.
Okay. Anyway, she does mention that the car was I forget exactly, but she talks about the car. It hasn't been identified. There's something on the car. I mentioned this before, and I'll mention right at the end what we believe it is, but it had something on it that it couldn't be identified, and we'll talk about that at the very end. Okay, so then we have the 509 garbage truck come around, of course. And then just two more things. So that morning, right? Very important, because there's another huge discrepancy.
The interviews and stuff, but footage was at 5:12, the trash came. Okay, that would have been on Monday morning. At about 6:20.
So remember, now we're going back to Sweetie Pilo, and this is the neighbor literally watching her footage. This footage here, obviously we just have a screenshot from the 5:12, but she's watching this footage. It is now, 6:20, so the light's starting to come up, and this is what she saw.
Mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window.
Now keep in mind, remember, Katie said she got up at 6 or 6:03, searched for Sebastian. One where she says for like a minute, the other she says 3 minutes, another one she says really fast, and then panic mode, calls Chris, and then she goes hunting, drives.
Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she's much said.
I think I cut her off because I think she kind of starts talking about something else. Okay. So remember, we have two versions, one 6 a.m., 6:03.
Mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window. Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she...
Now, remember, at this point, to a lot of the interviews, she was probably on the... she claimed she was already on the phone with Chris. So, again, I would love to see that footage. Is she actually on the phone, when she's calling out for Sebastian?
She's much said that part of the story, that she actually came outside of her home.
Do we have an estimated time of start for the search process?
Call came in at 6:33 this morning.
Great, thank you.
Then she got into her vehicle, went over, I think, what was the school, potentially. That's what it's believed anyway. She was only gone.
And allegedly she's seen there's surveillance footage at that school. From what I heard, she is in and out like a bat. So again, some people wonder, why didn't she at least go to the school and like go, say something to, one of the, someone at the, at the school, a teacher or whatever, to let them know that, hey, my son is missing, just in case if he shows up, can you call me? But that's not the case. And then they say the call came in at 6:33, but there's a discrepancy.
For about maybe, let's say, 10 minutes at most, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most. Came back and
I'm going to turn down. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. Those have a form of autism. It's the first time it happened. I was going to be in the home before midnight. The doors are locked at this time.
Just blowing around.
Central to 47-184 and 12. Juvenile left his son at the house. The mother is driving around looking for him in the Victoria Place subdivision, and she is driving a baby blue Infiniti.
Let's get there and see what's going on. Do our own search of the residence. We'll go from there.
So it.
So she wakes up. Sebastian's gone. Remember, there's multiple interviews. I kind of skipped that because I don't want to go too much longer. But the main thing is the call doesn't come into the sheriff until 6:33, right? And we just heard that. So again, what happened for 30 minutes, right? That's a pretty big time gap. I know we've talked about this before, but I just want to go through everything chronologically, everything that we've, discovered. Because according to her story, she woke up, she searched for him for a few minutes, and she was on the phone with Chris right away. Chris even says on one of the interviews that he says, okay, stop what you're doing. We're calling them. But yet, that took 30 minutes, right? Again, it's a little strange. Now to look at it on both sides, you could say, okay, well, maybe she actually woke up at 6:15 and she just was saying 6 o'clock just to round it off. But again, we may never fully know, but 30 minutes, that's a lot to, that does not fit with her story where, everything's going really fast. Can jamming affect, I don't know if it affects automobile Wi-Fi.
Kind of guy.
That's a good question, Betty.
So.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question.
To your knowledge, he didn't take shoes with him, right? He locked the door on his way out, or I guess, what are some of the things that you...
All right, I'm just going to leave this up for a minute so I can get to chat here and finish up. I got one more thing we're going to hit on because I know we've been going for a long time here. Thank you, June, so much for matching donations. That is so sweet. Alex, thank you so much. God bless you. Skulls of Justice, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Holy moly, I'm sorry. Gifted a Mob Crew membership. God bless you. Holy moly again with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Did she pass off the watch? Yeah, that's one of my theories as well. Yeah, for sure. Donna says, Chris, I appreciate your thoroughness. Thank you so much, Donna. God bless you. Rachel 508, is she rocking a busted lower right lip? Ooh. In one of the newer interviews? I'll have to go back. Obviously, when I get done, I'm going to go back and listen to it. That if you missed the interview for today, I promise you're not missing out. The interview from yesterday at least has a little bit more red flags, but this other one's a nothing burger. Camilla Norris gifting 5 Mob Crew memberships. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I'm sorry there's so many. I'm trying to get to everybody. Keep up the chatter. Thank you so much.
To the house next
Sandra, God bless you so much for the $1.99.
And that
as he...
But
Or the Gifted
10
Mob Crew. I'm
minutes at
sorry. I was
most,
looking
maybe
at the
5
other one. Oh, I meant to turn this down. That's what I'm doing. Elise Fairbanks. Thanks, Chris. God bless you. Thank you so much. Joni, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for the $4.99. God bless you, sweetheart. June, again, matching donations. That's very sweet of you. Laura Bell, thank you for all you do. It's my honor. Thank you so much. This community is amazing. And Melanie, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. June, matching. God bless you, June. Again, matching. And NJ's coming in with the Gifted Mob Crew. God bless you. All right, one last thing. So I did want to go over the totality of everything, but we've kind of, you look at all this. I'm just going to put it up there real quick. Look at all these coincidences, I'd say the dogs is really just Chris mentioning that, they go diagonally. I find that very strange because that's kind of like the same trajectory as the lights. But you have the flashlight that I still find odd as hell, that the one thing she knows that he's missing is this little tiny flashlight. To me, I think they knew that lights were going to be seen, so they were just kind of covering their ass. Okay, so let me show you one thing about the PI. One more thing about the PI. This is why this is very dangerous about, I don't want to say dangerous, but this is very bad with what this PI is doing, because he's gonna start taking advantage of people that believe in him and not realizing he's just doing this for a narrative, and in my opinion, not for the right reasons. I just showed you guys he sat on that footage for at least a month, if not longer, just so he could put that out on the anniversary. Even though he probably doesn't even believe that's Sebastian, but anyway, so
the Sumner County Sheriff
after this came out and they shut this down, of course he was complaining. So then he put this footage out, right? To try to double down on this, double down, triple, whatever, quadruple on this narrative. So then he shows somewhere around, like, I don't know if it's 7 or 8 a.m. This is when after the police have arrived and they have a scent dog, right? Now let's see where the scent dog goes, and then let me show you how absurd this is, right? So he shows this clip, right? And this is coming from that same camera that's looking up Kellen, that also picks up the guy walking his dog. But we see the scent dog cut across, right? Now, he goes on to claim that this is a scent dog. Now, remember, there's been debate back and forth. Holy hell, this is, one of those topics that has just been ran into the ground, where they say, no, there's been no scent-specific dogs. They kind of went all over the place. So they're trying to say that he went through this kind of backyard, and then came out Kellen, and then I guess went up, and then went into this construction site. So let me tell you why that particular path would be impossible for him to do that without being seen. And let me show you. So here is the camera at night. This is the footage. So again, this is the same camera. So what I did is I overlaid. So this is what they're saying, that he came through that. Wait, did I extend? Oh, yeah, I did skip. All right, let me play this and then So check this out. So this is daytime, right? This is the path that this dog went, right? So let's just say if Sebastian potentially did that. Well, let's look at that same exact view with me overlaying it to nighttime. Oh, well, look at that. If Sebastian took that route, we would have seen him clear as day. You have these huge floodlights on this home that he would have walked right through and would have been clearly seen. Right? There's no way in hell this kid's getting through this without being seen. And this camera, and one thing I think I messed up the last time I mentioned about these cameras. I think I said they were motion censored. They're not. He gets alerts when there's actual motion, but they record all night, and he has multiple cameras, different angles. So this camera was running all night. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, we would have clearly seen him come through. So now, again, so he's tripling, quadrupling down on this stupid narrative because, you know, it fits this 1-year anniversary. And now he's talking about ground penetrating radar, which is very expensive. We've done it in Texas to look for a 2-year-old girl, Amber Crum. And yeah, the equipment itself, very expensive. So he talks about all this money and going out and doing this. And what happens? Well, you get people that believe him, right? Believes his BS. And look at this statement at the bottom. Can we crowdfund for money needed to get this done? And now he's taking advantage of, people, wanting to help, not realizing that this guy's really just a PR for the Proudfoot, and that he's just trying to put this narrative to get him over to the construction site, to just keep that narrative going that they're trying to look and then you get people like this that, they probably do, want the best and want to find Sebastian. And now they're going to start fundraising when really, I get it. If you actually had a lead or something concrete, then yeah, I am all for it. But this is disgusting because you're taking advantage of people's goodwill. It's bullshit. Sorry. Not really, but it's disgusting. All right, one last thing, because I really wanted to kind of go through it, but I didn't realize how long the interview. One last thing.
Look green.
And if you have a few questions, I'll stay like another 10 minutes if I, because I apologize, I haven't got to chat as much.
26th. At around
So remember,
3
I put this particular video, like 6 months ago. Nothing has changed.
A suspicious vehicle was spotted by camera and potential witnesses, which they believe looked like a sedan. It traveled up Kellen and turned
They believe
around.
it could be a Nissan
It would
Altima.
Then park near the two homes towards Stafford
Likely
Street
dark
off
gray.
Kellen. This next part depends on whether this was an inside job or not. If an outside job had taken
Believe
place,
stopped
then at
somewhere
least two
around one of
persons
these
would have
homes.
exited the car. If it was an inside job,
And I think
then
they
perhaps
wanted to
one
make it
person
look like
got
I
out while
said
the
earlier, like they were just dropping some family members, boyfriend, girlfriend off. And then they turned onto the street because I think they knew that there was going to be some cameras that may have caught some of this. And they wanted to turn onto the street just barely where I think they knew this camera was there, but I don't think they realized the field of view from it. I didn't realize the car was actually going to be seen on camera. And that kind of screwed him there.
driver stayed in the car.
But again, like I said, this theory, nothing has changed about this theory. It still holds up to this day. And I pray that there's just that one piece that they need to get it. But one last thing about Katie. Do I have it here? This all mentioned. There's a little bit more to this. So I'm sure you guys have heard the rumors, and I'm just going to say it for now. Katie has allegedly lawyered up, but I would think it's more true than not, but we'll just say allegedly, and not speaking with law enforcement. And there's something that happened that, of course, I've been told in confidence that I can't say right now, maybe later on, as to what happened. But this is, if I understand correctly, this has been a while. So if you notice, you haven't seen Katie. We saw Chris come on that Elevated Truth podcast, but I guarantee you we won't see Katie unless it's a pre-organized interview, just like the one we saw where clearly they were getting softball questions from the reporter, which is not the reporter's fault. I guarantee those questions were they had to be pre-approved. And, yep. And from what I understand, even though I'm going to say allegedly, from what I understand, I believe this is true. And again, if you did lawyer up, I mean, I don't know why you would do that unless you have something to hide. Did you see in the chat someone said SF says on the website that he had that equipment already? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, whether he does or not, just mentioning that big number, the 250,000, and then make people feel bad like they need to chip in. That's the part that's disturbing to me, right? If you want to do that with your own money, whatever, fine, go ahead, But then if you start taking advantage of people's kindness and, willingness, and knowing that you don't actually have like a solid lead, right, then that's scary. So, yeah. And like I said, I there's a little bit more that I've heard, and maybe in due time I could share that, but there was something that happened, nothing like big, it's not like earth shattering, but there's something that happened, and then they're like, so I'll leave it at that because, I want to keep my good graces with the people that talk to me. And, if there is something I can share down the road, which I'm sure there will be, we will get to that. Yeah, she doesn't look good. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Gene P. That area is a little more, I was going to say urban, rural. So, I don't know if, they got away. Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't miss any, like, PayPals or Venmos or anything. Just by chance, if anyone did do a PayPal or Venmo, thank you in advance, and I'll just get you next time. Margie, thank you so much for the $10, and Rose Bunny, God bless you. Thank you so much for the love and support. I apologize for the longer live. I really wanted to, it's not something I like to do. I usually keep it short and sweet, but I felt like for the 1 year anniversary, we'd kind of go through everything that we have. And again, don't be persuaded by the stuff that Nick Barris said. Again, I think with his job, I don't know. I think what will happen, usually at least covering true crime, is if this is, the direction we think it is, it'll be one day we wake up and all of a sudden we get notifications and arrests are made. That's usually how it is. There's kind of no warning before, and there's almost like a calm before the storm. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of chatter. This happened in the Delphi case, and another one I can't remember. But then I think even maybe Brian Kohlberger as well. But there's some chatter, and then it's just kind of quiet for like a week or two, and then bam, we get we get notifications that there's arrest made, and then there's a press conference. So I think that it will happen. In this day and age, I just can't, I think there's just got to be like that one piece, because keep in mind, they don't have Sebastian. I think that's the toughest thing, is they don't have Sebastian, whether alive or, not. And so it's kind of hard to say, 100% criminal, even though I think we know it is, or believe it is. I think not having the body, whether alive or not, does create, that would be that big, piece of evidence they would need. But yeah, that will be a great day. Yeah. And it will happen. It will, like with the Delphi case. And I know not everybody agrees on the Delphi, but you know, that case went on for 7 years, and it just felt like, God, you know, is this ever going to get finalized? And then, you know, just out of the blue. And there was a little bit of chatter, I think like a couple weeks or even a week before, which was really weird. Like something was going to happen, and it was somebody local. And then there was like a week with a calm, and then bam. That was when I was out looking for Dylan Rounds with EquiSearch when I got the news about Delphi. It was kind of wild. Record Desk gifting 10 Mob Crew memberships. That is so awesome. Oh yeah, Paula. Yeah, that's literally one of my thumbnails. That was the first thing I noticed. Yeah, but yeah, Paula, I agree. She's speaking in past tense. That's not good. Yep. And then it's almost like she says she's going to say shit right after. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and finish up so I can let my mods get some rest. We'll be back here on Friday. I don't think there's anything else happening. I think At Night put something out just saying, you know, it'd be nice to get answers. Oh, here's SF. Although appearing to discount recent possible video evidence, TBI said in the release the sheriff urges any photographic information be sent immediately. Here we go, right here. The sheriff urges any photographic information be sent immediately, as this may be as time may be essence in relevant sightings. And then he has the nerve to say, so was it really not relevant? This piece of garbage. I am gonna put something together, dude. Wow. I can't believe he has the nerve to say that after what we just discovered. He has been sitting on that piece of footage for over a month. What a scumbag. What a scumbag. Of course he's complaining. No shocker there. Yeah, Christy. Yeah, about what? Yeah, exactly. About what she says. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, I do have some stomach issues that still have not been resolved, and yeah, but yeah, credible footage. Yeah, I'm gonna blast him tomorrow. I'll see. But yep. All right, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna do a pet outro. I have been getting some pet outros set up again, but I'm not gonna do it tonight because we've just gone for I think 2.5 hours, and that's an hour longer than I like to go. So thank you guys so much for spending the night with me. I'm sorry I didn't get to more comments. It's really tough when you have 1,500 people in here. But thank you so much for the love. Thank you so much, mods. And we will see you guys Friday.